I'd like to call to order the October meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals for Knox County. If you could call the roll call.
Curtis Brown.
Present.
Jonathan Repass.
Present.
Doug Lloyd. Our 4th District representative is not here. Cecil Anderson.
Here.
John Elliott.
Here.
Sherry Garrett.
Present.
Rebecca Longmire.
Here.
Paul Huff.
Here.
7 members are present.
I will have the Pledge of Allegiance now.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And before we proceed, we need to commence with the election of officers for the next year. We have chairman and vice chairman up for election. At this time, I'll take nominations for chairman.
So we'll start in District 1 and just go through and get everybody's nomination.
Is there a nomination from District 1?
Rebecca Longmire.
All right, Mr. Repass.
Paul Huff.
All right, Mr. Lloyd is not here. And Mr. Anderson,
Here.
nomination.
Yep. Do I have a nomination with Chair Gary?
He said Chair Garrett.
Chair Gary.
And Mr. Elliott.
Paul Huff.
Okay. Yeah, if a nomination's already been made, you can pass if it's whatever.
All right, Ms. Garrett,
Pass.
Ms. Longmire,
Pass.
Mr. Huff.
Pass. We have 3 candidates. I'm sorry.
If you wish to use the process that the county commission uses, the way this would go is everybody would make a vote. If nobody gets a majority, then the lowest person on the voting scale drops off, and then it's down to 2. And
Oh, okay.
That's how we generally do it.
Okay. So would be a majority of those present?
Majority of those present.
How many we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so it would take a majority of 4 to pass on first reading.
So since I started in District 1, would you like me to start in District 2 for the vote? Or just start in District 1?
Just start district.
All right, Mr. Brown,
Longmire.
Mr. Repass,
Huff.
Mr. Lloyd is not here. Nobody in 4th. Mr. Anderson,
Chair Gary.
Mr. Elliott,
Mr. Huff.
Ms. Garrett,
Mr. Huff.
Ms. Longmire,
Mr. Huff.
and Mr. Huff.
Mr. Huff. It appears that I've been reelected to be the chairman for the next year. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. And now we'll move on to the vice chair.
You want to start in District 1 each time?
Starting District 2 this time.
All right, Mr. Repass, your nomination.
Curtis Brown.
Mr. Lloyd is not here. Nobody in 4. Mr. Anderson,
Rebecca Longmire.
Mr. Elliott,
Pass.
Ms. Garrett,
Pass.
Ms. Longmire,
Pass.
Mr. Huff,
Pass.
and Mr. Brown.
Nominate myself.
just go through from the same order.
All right. Mr. Reed, pass your vote.
Curtis Brown.
What are we voting for now?
Vice Chair.
I mean, what was the reason for the second vote?
Oh, that was your nomination.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Anderson?
Sherry Garrett. I'm sorry, Rebecca Longmire.
Mr. Elliott?
Mr. Brown.
Ms. Garrett?
Mr. Brown.
Ms. Longmire?
Me. Rebecca Longmire.
Mr. Huff?
Mr. Brown.
And Mr. Brown?
Myself.
A vote of 5-2 in favor of Mr. Brown, so Mr. Brown has also been reelected.
Hey, good job.
Moving on. Members are volunteers from each commission district who do not receive compensation for their work on the board or training they attend. As a quasi-judicial body, we avoid ex parte communication or conduct our business in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. My name's Paul Huff. I'm the chairman. To my right is Mr. Curtis Brown, the vice chairman, and to his right is Mike Moyers, our law director representative. Are there additional folks here from Codes?
Yes, you have myself, Steve Elliott, the Director of Development Services, Miranda Ward, our zoning specialist, and then we have Mike Reynolds from Knox Planning.
Thank you. Our voting procedure requires a simple majority of board members present. Today, there are 7 members present. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from last month's meeting?
I'll make the motion.
I second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. The Knox County Board of Zoning Appeals is authorized to grant variances and hear other matters by the Tennessee Code and the Knox County zoning ordinance, specifically Section 6.60, Board of Zoning Appeals. These laws prescribe strict parameters, the meeting of which is required to grant a variance. The burden of proof that an application meets these parameters rests on the applicant. Quoting from Knox County Code of Ordinances 6.60.04, variances, quote, "The purpose of the variance is to modify the strict application of the specific requirements of this ordinance in the case of exceptionally irregular, narrow, shallow, or steep lots, or other exceptional physical conditions whereby such strict application would result in practical difficulty or unnecessary hardship which would deprive an owner of reasonable use of their land. The variance shall be used only where necessary to overcome some obstacle which is preventing an owner from using their property as the zoning ordinance intended. For each matter, the clerk will read the request into the record. The chair will then ask if the applicant is present. The chair will then ask if there is opposition or other speakers who wish to present. You do not have to come forward at that time. Once we determine the speakers for the item, we will call on government agencies such as Knox County Codes, Planning, or Engineering to make statements regarding the facts pertinent to the property and background of the request. Board members may ask questions of the governmental agencies once they have made their statements. The chair will then call on the applicant to come forward, state their name and address for the record, and present their evidence and reasoning supporting the granting of a variance. If there is no opposition, the applicant has 10 minutes to present their case. If there is opposition, the applicant and opposition each have 15 minutes. After the applicant's presentation, the board members may ask questions of the applicant. The chair will then call for opposition or other parties who have 15 minutes to speak. This 15 minutes applies to all parties, so if there are multiple parties who wish to speak, please determine how you are going to divide your time beforehand. After the opponents present their opposition, the board members may ask questions of the opponents. Finally, there will be a discussion of the case by the board, during which time the board members may ask further questions of parties that have already testified. The board will then make any determination it deems necessary. Our bylaws allow the applicant at an initial hearing on a matter to request a deferral of 30 or 60 days without prejudice. In the event of a deferral of an application or failure to appear, any opponent or opponents may be heard on the record at a meeting where the application they oppose appears on the agenda. Mr. Law Director, would you please swear in anyone giving testimony today?
All right, if you're going to address this body today on any matter that's on the agenda, for or against, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give today be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Be seated, please.
Are there any agenda changes or corrections today? Steve?
Yes, item 5A, the deferred item, will be changing their request from 35 to 17 feet instead of 35 to 12 feet.
Thank you.
It's also from the front to the back.
5A,
That's the last one.
last one,
To 17.
Yeah.
17 feet.
Also, it should, where it says front, it should say back.
But it is the front yard setback that's the issue, still.
Still, that's still an issue, but they're just putting a pool in the back.
Right.
No, that's good.
So we're going to leave it as waiver of front yard setback.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
all good. Okay, Madam Clerk, if you would read item 4A.
4A is a request of Jose Rodriguez for waiver of lot intensity from 40,000 square feet of lot area to 29,185 square feet of lot area for two dwellings. The property is located at 6709 Charlotte Drive, CLT map 060, Group LB, parcel 016. Property is zoned RB in the 8th Commission District.
Is the applicant present? Is there any opposition? Did I see opposition? No.
Go to the podium.
Any statements from codes on this?
None at this time.
If you would, please state your name and address for the record.
Turn the mic on.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes, my name is Jose Rodriguez. The reason that I ask you the...
Excuse me, can you give us your address, please?
Oh, yes, it's 6709 Charlotte Drive.
Pursuant to Knox County Code 6.60.04, what evidence do you have that's to present that supports your application for a variance?
I want to give the opportunity to build in another dwelling to take care of my mom. She's 80 years old, and I ain't got no place for her. So I don't know, I can show you some pictures of my mom. It's the only thing that I got. I don't got nothing else.
Mr. Huff, may I ask a question, please?
Please do.
All right, the shed is already there at your house, is that correct?
Yes, on the chef, I wanna build in the chef, I wanna make an apartment for her.
So you're just going to remodel?
Yes.
Have you looked into all the things you'll have to do to make it meet codes?
I really don't know. Actually, it was the gentleman over there asking if it was any chance, and he told me, well, that I can come in here and ask you the chance. He said the possibilities is 100%. They say no, but
Yeah, well, I mean, you'll have to do insulation, you'll have to do quite a
Yes.
bit to it. Have you thought about adding perhaps a room or something to your house? That it
well-
might be a cheaper option?
well, my house is a mobile home, so
Ah.
I don't.
It
there's
would be more
nothing-
difficult?
Yes, there's nothing that I can do on the mobile home, but on the chef, yes. And I can do all the requirement that you guys asked me to do, I can do it, no problem. Like I say, I just need a place for my mom.
I understand that. Thank you. And none of the neighbors or anything have complained about it, or any of the neighbors, have they said they didn't want it or anything like that?
No, they didn't say nothing. They are asking, and
Yeah.
they say it's okay as long as you agree. They say if you do everything right, no problem.
Okay, it's your mama, you want to do it right.
Any other questions or comments? What district did you say this was?
8.
Ninth district?
More questions?
Then I'd like to make a motion that we do approve the waiver of lot density from 40,000 square feet to
29.
29, basically, square feet, so that the shed might be remodeled into a dwelling for his mother, meeting the requirements that the county codes requires for a livable structure.
Thank you.
I'll
Thank you
second
so
that.
much.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposition? We have 6 ayes and 1 nay. Motion carries. Thank you.
And Mr. Rodriguez, talk to codes about what you're going to be required to do to make it a livable structure.
Pardon me?
You need to talk to the gentleman about what's required in order for the structure to be
Okay, okay,
livable, okay?
Yes.
I would strongly suggest that you call a building inspector, a commercial, a professional building inspector, have them come look at it. They know the codes, they know what you'll have to do,
Okay.
get their advice, and then chat with the codes folks.
Thank you.
Could, the request was for 29,185, and the motion was for 29,000. Could we correct that motion?
Yes.
So the record will reflect 29,185?
Yeah. I'm sorry, my glasses got left upstairs. I would like to correct my motion to 29,185.
Still second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? No. Oh, 1, I'm sorry. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
4B.
4B is a request of Cynthia Gentry to appeal code enforcement's determination that my lot is in violation of the lot cleanliness ordinance. The property is located at 9409 Depot Street, CLT map 036, parcel 033. Property is zoned AG in the 7th Commission District.
Is the applicant present? Is there any opposition?
Yeah, back in the back.
Okay. You have 15 minutes to, when we get there. Can you state your name and address for the record?
Yes, my name is Cynthia Gentry. The address is 9409 Depot Street in High School.
Are there comments or a recommendation from codes?
I don't think we want to make an opening statement, but I'm sure we'll have.
Before you do
one
that,
here.
the address you gave was for the property. Is that where you live?
No, it's not a residential property. There's no home on the property.
What is your residential address?
My residential address is 1013 Holiday Lane, Sevierville, Tennessee, 37876.
Are there any questions for the governmental agencies, codes?
I have everything. I've got the emails from April Clifton, and I have complied and done everything that was against the codes violation. I asked for her to come meet me and show me what needed to be done or point out, and she refused to come meet me, but apparently she's been by the property several times and walks all over my property, and I don't feel that's right, and I feel very violated by her entering my property and refusing to meet me, but going all over my property. And I have no trespassing signs everywhere.
That's really not an issue for this board.
Okay. As far as I know, I've taken care of all the codes violations. And I've got photos to prove that. When I first purchased the property, it was overgrown. You couldn't even walk on the property. I purchased it about a year and a half ago, and I've been working to clear the property. I have had over 100 trees cut down on the property. and I work a full-time job, and it's a 3-hour round-trip drive for me to get to the property. So I did put my RV there last year, which I got a complaint about that. So I removed my RV. I was only staying there a couple nights a week so I could work and clear the property. Now I'm only getting to spend 1 day a week because that's all the time, because I can't stay on the property, except I was told I could stay there in a tent, but I can't stay there in an RV. So it's just hard for me to get there all the time. I do have animals on the property. I've got pigs and I've got poultry. This gentleman comes to the property every single day and feeds and waters the animals. He also works a full-time job. We let the grass grow a little bit because we pull and pick the grass because we feed it to the animals. The pigs love the grass, the peacocks and everything. Just like farmers grow hay. It's zoned agriculture property. I have stacks of firewood everywhere, which April asked me to cover them. I've covered all the firewood. I have pallets. I was making a pallet fence, and I've got pictures of that too. And I purchased those, and a couple of weeks after I purchased is when I got the violation, and she told me to remove the pallets. And I'm using them as building materials. I make chicken coops out of them and fencing, and they are covered now. That's an old picture.
Without going into great detail about the pictures you mentioned earlier that show that you've cleaned them up, what date were those pictures taken?
That's the date of the violation. And it doesn't look like that any longer.
Do you have pictures that show it doesn't look like that anymore?
Yes, sir, and then,
What's the date of those pictures?
the date of my pictures.
Yeah, the ones that you
The ones you claim show that it's no longer in violation. What dates on those pictures?
Those were taken this past week and printed out. And April or somebody from Codes was on the property yesterday, and I've got video of them. They walked all over my property with cameras and pictures, so they should have recent pictures from yesterday.
So you're saying on October 29th, these pictures were taken, both your pictures and Code's pictures?
Some of them, yes. I've got pictures here of what it looked like when I bought the property and what it looked like yesterday. Is there not any recent pictures? That was the date of the violation on September the 16th.
I guess my co-chair is bringing the pictures that were taken yesterday?
The pictures you took that we're getting ready to pass around, you took them yesterday?
No, that's a stack of pictures from, no, can I separate them? Oh, did you? Is it just the ones from?
Mostly what was took in the past week, and a lot of them yesterday. I took a lot of those.
The pictures are not just from yesterday, they were during the past week.
Mr. Huff, those pictures that I provided were taken yesterday by our codes enforcement officer.
Okay.
Are they up on this? Can they be put on the screen or?
didn't get them scanned in, I'm sorry, he has it.
Okay.
We can let you see them once they're done looking at them.
Okay.
Yes, please. We're going to pause the time for a moment, just so you don't lose all of your speaking time.
While you're looking at the pictures, may I ask a question?
Certainly.
What do you intend to do with your animals?
Well, I was raising the pigs. I've sold a couple of them. It's just a hobby farm.
Okay, so you don't, I just looked at the pictures, and having had pigs and other fowls, they don't really look like they're housed appropriately. Has animal control been out there to check things?
Yes. That was another issue. On the violation date, nobody called animal control. They came out, somebody from Codes Enforcement called animal control on October the 8th. And I met with animal control on October the 11th. And I've only got poultry and pigs. And she said, I've got the report if you'd like to see that.
What did she say?
She said that everything is housed, separated by gender and breed. Everything looks good. Everything's got water, food, shelter, and bathing. They've got everything they need, and there was no violations found.
Okay, you might want to pass that around. Why don't you go
Yeah,
get
we-
that so he doesn't?
Would you like to see it?
And you also have greenhouses, I noticed, or hothouses, I guess.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So in the hothouses, as opposed to the greenhouses, what are you using those for?
Growing fruits or vegetables mainly, tomatoes, cucumbers, bell peppers. That's what the greenhouses are for.
How's your crop been this year?
Not good.
Okay.
I think it was too hot. Everything kind of burned up.
Okay.
Plus, I'm just learning how to do all that, so.
So you characterize this as a hobby farm? This is not a commercial farming operation?
No, and that is actually, I'm building a pole barn. We just put up the scaffolding probably about 2 weeks ago to continue building the barn.
Does that require a building permit?
I have a building permit for it, yes. I don't think it was required on an agricultural building to get a building permit, but I was required to get one.
To correct her, she's correct. She does not require a building permit, but state law does say they have to fill out an exemption form, which she did. And so she got a permit that basically says she does not need a permit.
And do you ever plan to live on this property?
I plan on it probably maybe 5 or 6 years down the road. We've talked about building a house on the property eventually.
It seems like a long way away from Sevierville.
It is. It's actually closer to him, but I bought it kind of on a whim because it was a neat property. It's got a lot of history, and I thought it was a neat property. I just came across it on Facebook, and
All right, another thing, I noticed you have a lot of tarps, which you were required to do.
yes,
I
and
I understand that. The problem is, should it rain, standing water breeds mosquitoes and other pests. What do you have in mind to mitigate that problem?
I've not had an issue with that.
Well, it hasn't rained, but it will.
Right. I thought the wood was doing better, and I've actually got some people that's supposed to come after some of the wood. I've had a lot of burn piles. I've been burning a lot. There's no trash on the property. There's firewood, piles of firewood, and I have covered all of it with tarps like I was asked to do, but I think that looks worse than the stacks of wood there.
Any other comments or questions for the applicant?
You also have several buckets standing around, which would be a standing water problem.
Those are water buckets that we water the chickens out of, and it's changed on a daily basis.
Okay.
What are you doing with the the vehicle there? Is that vehicle operable?
Yes, it's operable. I drive it. I have a 350 big diesel truck that I drive from Sevierville, so when I'm having to run errands and stuff, that car, I run errands in it because it's a lot cheaper on gas and easier to park in a parking lot than my big old truck.
And you have a porta potty?
I do, because we've had a lot of people working on the property, like he's there every day, I'm there on Saturdays working, and we need a place to go to the restroom. And I have it emptied, I've got receipts where I have it emptied by a septic company, they come and.
I have a question for codes. There appear to be a lot of vacant structures on the property, greenhouses and things of that nature. Have any of those been inspected for code compliance, or do they require code compliance?
They wouldn't require code compliance structurally. The greenhouses wouldn't. The greenhouses would probably fall under the right to farm and be exempt from the zoning requirements also, so they wouldn't have to meet setbacks or anything.
But this doesn't qualify as a farm.
In my opinion, no. That's why we're here today. The definition of a farm is you would have to commercially produce some sort of agricultural product.
It's already on the record that she doesn't do that, so it does not qualify as a farm.
Correct.
So with that in mind, do they require code compliance?
It's our opinion, yes, you would be required to comply with the dirty lot ordinance. And even, agricultural structures are exempt from zoning requirement, but not building code. So yes, they would have to comply with the building code.
And has a building inspector inspected them?
No.
What buildings are you referring to? That would.
I'm sorry, I was referring to the greenhouse structures,
Oh, okay.
any structure that can be occupied.
Okay, yeah, they're just greenhouses. No, they wouldn't need inspection. They're not. Right.
If they're not considered farm, and you've got a greenhouse on the property which is residential, do they come inspect this?
Well, the property's zoned agricultural, so I should be able to have.
In one of the pictures, it shows a rather large, looks like a blue tent or a blue plastic building. Do you know what that is?
That's storage. I've got,
Storage?
that's storage, yes. It's got lawnmowers and chairs and feed. We store chicken feed and stuff in there. And straw. And I was told by codes, which was April, that I could tent camp all I wanted on the property, that we were allowed to have tents. Just couldn't have an RV.
The RV is a safety issue because it only has one exit, so that's why.
There's people living in RVs all over Knox County.
If you report them, codes will go check them.
Well, there's RV parks that people live in year-round, I know. There's only one exit on a tent also. And if you put a heater in it.
The zoning ordinance is specific that you can't live in a RV. It doesn't address tents. So therefore, we don't have the authority to regulate tents.
It's
Any
just,
any other questions for the applicant? How's she on time?
can I ask if you checked it yesterday, was everything in compliance?
Per the pictures we passed around, there were still piles of debris around. It looks to me like there's probably still some overgrown grass there, so I would say no, you're not in compliance today.
You still have somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 minutes left on your time, so if you want to hold that time until after the opposition.
Yes, please.
Okay. Now we'll hear from the opposition. If there's more than one party, remember you only have 15 minutes total. Please state your name and address for the record.
Name is Eric Fuel. Address is 9410 Depot Road, High School, Tennessee, 37754.
Go ahead.
I'm directly across the street from this property. I'm actually the one who called codes a couple times. Once was the RV and a hot tub and porta potties, you name it, it was there. Looks like a circus, as you can see. Hasn't got any better. They had to sit there and move that stuff out, so they just spiteful, which I'm assuming, I don't know if pictures were taken of the gate that's got the sign that says, "Welcome to our pig farm. How do you like me now?" with a smiley face emoji. She's had that hanging up for about a year. They got pigs 15 foot off the road. There's no exit, no entrance. You got to climb over the gate with a pull thingy that you put in a pool. It has about 300 flies that are flying around my house all the time. It smells from high heaven. There is chickens, peacocks, guineas, you name it, it is there everywhere. They can call it a farm all they want to. It's not a farm. It's a disaster. It looks horrible. It smells horrible. Why is it here? And I'll end with that.
Any questions for the opposition? Are there other people that want to speak?
Yeah, you got one more.
Speak in opposition, excuse me.
My name's Scott Bradley. I live at 9400 Depot, High School, Tennessee, 37754. My opposition is that I was told that they were going to be, I have a mobile home that backs up to their property, and I was told that they were going to put pigs within a foot of my trailer, my dwelling. You know, I've seen the smell down there, and I really don't want it behind my property. And just a lot of the carrying on the side of the fence and stuff like that. There's a lot of spitefulness with this, and I really just want to get along and be civil and just live without having to worry about all this stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the opposition?
I have a question for codes.
Go ahead.
She's agricultural. I understand that. It's an agricultural lot. Just because it's agricultural, are you allowed to have animals like pigs and fowl and stuff? Or does it have to be a farm? And if so, what is a farm?
I would think she's agricultural, she can have farm animals on her property. In order for her to get the exemptions from zoning that she's claiming, she would have to be classified as a farm, and this is not a farm. So some of these exemptions that she's claiming that she doesn't have to comply with the dirty lot ordinance, our opinion is she still has to comply because she is not a commercial farm, and that's been admitted on record here today.
All right, so I want to make sure I understand. For her to have to comply with what codes is requiring, it has to be a farm, which means it has to make a certain amount of money, a commercial enterprise per year. Is that
That's correct.
All right, thank you.
I'm probably going to stray a little bit beyond my swim lane here, but my understanding of state law is that odor from a farm is not considered a nuisance. But since this is not a farm, it's odor from a private piece of property that happens to be zoned agricultural. I'm not sure where that falls within the law.
Me and Mike are looking at each other.
Well, my belief would be that because you're talking about agriculturally zoned property and because animals, farm animals are allowed on agriculturally zoned property, I don't know that you could make out that that would be a nuisance. I mean, you're talking about them using their property in a way that the county has zoned it to be used. So, you know, smell that's naturally occurring from animals which are legally on the property, I don't see how that can be a problem. But that does not mean that it's a farm and thus exempt from all these other regulations if you find it not to be a farm.
Thank you.
No question.
Go ahead, Ms. Garrett.
This is for codes. The violations that she received, that did that have anything to do with the animals, or was it just the dirty lot
It was-
ordinance and it was the pallets and such things, but it didn't have anything to do with the animals?
That's
or
correct.
the odor?
It
correct?
was specific to the dirty lot ordinance, the mowing, the debris, the piles of material laying around. That's specifically what we gave her a violation for.
Does the applicant want to use the rest of her time?
Yes, please, if you want to use the rest of your time.
Yes, sir. Can he speak in my place? Was he sworn in? Yes.
Yes. I'm also a witness to all this.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Philip Burt, B-U-R-T. Address is 129 California Avenue, Oak Ridge, Tennessee, 37830. I have been working that land for a year and a half. We have pictures of that land when we started. If there was ever a nuisance for mosquito breeding or any of that such, it was before it was purchased. You couldn't even walk on that land. The clearing of it took a year. We've only cleared 1/3 of that property. The photos that you're looking at and presenting, and I want to say this, I appreciate your time, but the truth needs to be told to you all for you to understand the whole painting here. Mosquito breeding was so bad that we could not work that farm on certain hours because of the mosquitoes. That was before there was ever a tent put up. That was before there was an RV drug in there to stay in on Thursday night, Friday night, and haul, so that we had a place to get out of the heat, out of the cold, and to sleep and actually spend more time on this farm. But make no mistake about it, the mosquito breeding was 1,000% worse before we started clearing it. The next point I'd like to make is the ticks. I almost called the county numerous times. She got bit 65 times in a 6-week period, embedded with ticks. Okay? One of these gentlemen stood right there and told me when I was telling him this that, they move on at a certain point of the year. No, that was wrong too. They don't move on. They might jump on a deer, a dog, a person, and get carried off. But they do not, on their own, leave property. This place was so heavily embedded with ticks, most of my men quit working on this property. They work for me. And they said, no. The chance of getting Lyme disease and other things from these ticks, not worth it. So I couldn't even put manpower out there. Her and I have been clearing this land typically by ourselves for the most part. I do have cousins and brothers that will come out and help me catch up with things. As far as the grass that you see in those pictures and a lot of those weeds, these animals, which I do have a right, I've already talked to Nashville, okay? I do have a right to own these animals. And I do have a right to harvest them myself. And yes, this is farming. It's not a commercial grade farm. No, I never would tell you all that. I'm telling you that if you get your own chicken eggs from your chickens, There's not a law against that on that property. It's ag. The pigs, I will harvest them when I see a need to harvest them or find time to harvest them. But I won't harvest them all at once. I'll harvest them as the need is present. I've been farming on and off for about 45 years. So I take great insult to somebody telling me it's a circus when the county is the one that made it a circus. There was only an RV sitting on that lot when it was being cleared. The county said, get rid of the RV, but you can have all the tents you want. That would be your department that told us that. Have all the tents you want. And another thing, does the codes enforcement department go in on everybody's property that has a tent set up in the backyard or a greenhouse and check them out? No, they don't. And it's ridiculous to expect them to. They have bigger fish to fry. This situation here, ladies and gentlemen, comes from neighbors who wanted to purchase that property for years, but it wasn't available. Cynthia, being a realtor, came across it when it was available. There's been hard feelings up there since day one. She didn't start any of it except for having surveyors come up there. Well, that meant people lost property that they thought they owned, even though these people told her that she had to have it surveyed before she could do anything. So she spent out of her pocket and had it surveyed. Now, what you're getting here is you're getting two people that would love to have an HMO out there on that street. They would love that to be a Farragut-style housing community. Neither one lives in a Farragut-style house. Okay, one of them is originally an old dwelling. The other one comes from a different area. Yes, sir.
Excuse me, sir. Your time is up.
I've went 15 minutes?
No, you only had 5
I only get 5?
minutes.
Why do I get 5?
Because you're part of the applicant and you're part of her time. She had 5 minutes left when we asked her if she wanted to continue
I don't
speaking.
own the property.
It's not,
I'm a witness to what's been going on and what is going on.
you're her witness, you're part of her presentation. Her time limit is up.
Okay.
Got anything, Cole?
Does anyone else have any comments or questions? I'll entertain a motion at this point.
Mr. Huff, could I make one final statement, please?
Yes.
To address what he said, he's right. He has the right to have those animals on that property. What he doesn't have the right to do is violate our dirty lot ordinance, and that is what we're citing him for, and that's what we're asking this body to agree with us on, that he has to comply with the dirty lot ordinance.
Yes, I agree that he's not violating anything by having animals on the property, but that property does not qualify as a farm by the definition in the Tennessee state law, and that's where it is.
And that's correct. That's not a definition that my office made up. It's a definition defined by Tennessee state law.
Correct. So I'll entertain a motion at this point.
Okay. And I appreciate the fact that, you've got the animals, you absolutely can have those animals in that property. It's agricultural. We're not here about odors. We're not here about the animals. We're here about the fact that it is a dirty lot ordinance that we're talking about and nothing else other than that. So at this time, I will make a motion that we deny the applicant's application due to the fact that this is not a farmland and she is required to follow the dirty lot ordinance as pertained by law.
I second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, please say no. Unanimous, therefore the motion carries.
Codes, will she be given a list of what needs to be done to the lot to make sure it's,
Yes, we will, and we will also give her time to get it all cleaned up. We won't go out tomorrow. We'll give her 30 days or so to get everything cleaned up.
Will somebody be coming out?
And I would like to say that codes goes wherever people complain.
That's
If-
right.
If there's something in your neighborhood that you don't like, make your complaint. They don't go out driving around looking for tents in the backyard, but they will check them for you.
Yeah, we're the hunters, or we're the hunted, not the hunters.
I was just gonna.
Thank you.
Can I show you? This
Can I
is-
ask one last question? It's just a general question that we need to this board.
Please come to the
Actually,
microphone.
it's to this man, but
Please come to the microphone so we can all hear.
Codes Department was asked to come out there, and she's got the paperwork to go over that list. My question to you, sir, I don't know your name.
Steve Elliott.
All right, Mr. Elliott, we are only cleared on 1/3 of the total property. How much of that is under your scrutiny?
If it's forested land, you don't have to do anything with it. It's the third that you've cleared. Now you have to comply with the dirty lot ordinance.
Okay,
You've
now-
got grass, you've got to mow grass, you've got to clean up the debris, the piles of brush.
All right, now, to my knowledge, I've done that, so we need them to come out before to give us the 30 days so that they can tell me what I've missed.
That's what they're going to do, sir.
Yeah.
They're going to come out and tell you.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, when you all get all that done, he's going to give you a list of things that you need to have done to meet codes. And when you get that list, and when you go through your check off and you check those things off, you'll give them a call. They will come out there and they will re-inspect that for you and let you know if those meet code standards.
Well, my point of asking him that is, we've already, to my knowledge, covered everything that needs to be covered on that 1/3 of property.
Okay. Sir, you're arguing with the wrong group. We really
Sir.
can't do anything about that.
No, I know, but I was, my question's directed to him, so I'm waiting for that answer.
Well,
Here,
talk to
let
him.
me clarify. Yesterday, codes came out and looked at it, and it was not in
She's gonna meet us
compliance.
out here.
If you think it's in compliance today, and you want them to come back and re-inspect it, please make an appointment with codes, and they'll come do that.
That's not what I asked. I'm sorry for the confusion. I wanted to know.
Okay, on to the next, 4D.
4C
sorry,
is a
C.
request of Mark Gill for waiver of periphery boundary from 35 feet to 15 feet. The property is located at 2034 Cascade Falls Lane, CLT map 091, Group OD, parcel 002. Property is zoned PR in the 6th Commission District.
Is the applicant here?
Yes.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Mark Gill, and I live at 2034 Cascade Falls Lane, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37931.
Is there any opposition to this request? Any statements from codes?
We have none.
Any questions for codes? Go ahead, sir.
Well, I'm wanting, sorry about that. I'm wanting to put a shed out in my backyard. I'm going to use it for a workspace, a shop. We've lived in our house for about 4 years. I've confiscated one of our stalls in our garage for this purpose, and it's getting harder and harder to get work done in it. So basically, I'm moving that work area and storage area out into the backyard. Our property is on the edge, the periphery of the developmental area that we live in. And so I have the 35-foot boundary right there. Our house is 42 feet or so, depending on what part of the house you're talking about, from the edge. So I do have that problem. 35 feet doesn't leave me much room to put anything in my whole entire backyard. So it removes my backyard from anything, any useful purpose, if you will. Aligned on our backyard there is a road. That's a residence road going up to the right-hand side there. There's a residence in the back. And so there's nobody who's going to build right behind my property. So that's what we're talking about. That is a sloped area. It slopes back the hills on the bottom of the drawing, down on this side, if you will. Bottom right is the height of the hill, and goes down towards Ball Camp Pike, is that main road back down towards the bottom. So all I'm going to do is put the shed next to my house, and that's really all I'm asking for. It's not, I don't think it's a big ask, and I don't know where else I could go. I can't really go on the sides. I guess I could go on the right-hand side and build an attachment to my house, but it's much more expensive to do that because I'd have to tie into the house and electrical and so forth. At this time, I probably won't do electrical for quite some time, but I'll have to do permitting when I do that. So then I have that in mind as I go along. So.
I have a question for
Yes,
codes.
sir.
Actually, it's more for Miranda. Miranda, the rear yard setback for this property is 15 feet, is that correct? Not
Yes.
counting the peripheral
Yes, sir.
requirement.
Normally, it would,
Okay.
it would be 15 without the periphery. All the other houses in the interior of the subdivision are 15 feet rear.
Thank you. This is not the first time a periphery has caused more trouble than it's solved. The fact that your peripheral boundary of the subdivision backs up to a driveway gives me no problem to waive the peripheral boundary requirement in this case. Ms. Longmire, list. Sorry. Your district, Mr.
Sure.
Elliott, go ahead.
I'm right with you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the waiver of the peripheral boundary from 35 feet to 15 feet based on the size of the lot. If he was to honor the 35 feet, he would not be able to use his lot, and he's not trying to go inside of the 15 feet.
I second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Thank you very much. 4D.
4D is a request of Donna Davis for waiver of height extension from 160 feet to 180 feet. The property is located at 8764 Bud Hawkins Road, CLT map 023, parcel 01801. Property is zoned AG in the 8th Commission District.
Is the applicant here? Is there any opposition? Any statements from codes?
We have none.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Donna Davis, my address is 109 Cherokee Drive, Shelbyville, Tennessee, 37160.
That is your home address, residence?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you state the purpose for your, or the justification for your request?
Yes, sir. T-Mobile is requesting a variance for a height increase for co-location of their equipment. So they would be a new carrier on the tower.
Okay, it appears they want to add 20 feet to an existing tower.
Correct, sir.
That's 160 feet tall.
That's correct.
The existing tower's 160 feet. 10% of that would be 16 feet. You're asking to increase it 20 feet,
That's correct.
but it's not more than 20 feet. So there are
Correct.
there are two conditions in the federal law that would make this a deal that we couldn't refuse. One is less than 10%, or not more than 10%, not more than 20%. This one happens to be more than 10%, but not more than 20.
Correct.
So it does give us some leeway. However, I will say that we actively encourage co-location of cell facilities, and an additional 4% beyond the, or excuse me, I'm not good enough to do that math in my head, but it's
about
not,
2.5.
it's not much.
Yeah.
Whose district is this?
Ms. Longmire,
Oh, Ms. Longmire.
I'll make a motion.
Ms. Garrett, go ahead.
I would make a motion that we approve this, as I'm scrolling through here, this waiver to allow them to co-locate on this location.
I would second that.
Right, we're going to extend from 160 to 180, and there's been a motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? No. The motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
For E,
4E is a request of Austin Neely, 5 Star Properties, Inc., for waiver of front yard setback from 40 feet to 25 feet. The property is located at 8316 Coreyton Road, CLT map 006, parcel 07801. Property is zoned AG in the 8th Commission District.
is the applicant present? Is there any opposition? Any statement from codes?
We have none at this time.
Please come state your name and address for the record.
Austin Neely, address is 530 Cross Street, New Tazewell, Tennessee.
And that is your home address?
That is my work address.
Work
If you need-
address, that's fine.
Okay.
Could you state your reasoning for a request for variance?
Yes, sir. I'm here on behalf of the Corums, which are the property owners. We are going to be constructing a house for them. Really, there's a couple things that's driving this. On this particular piece of property, as you see on this map that she's got pulled up there, about the back half of the property is unusable for septic purposes. And so that really confines us to the front half being usable for septic for the soil. And about where that line is drew on that map right there, there's a rolling hill and it drops off quite a bit topography wise. So they're really not blessed with a lot of great usable area on the lot. We had a perk test come back, and as you see, that's denoted here on this. Currently, with the size of house, they're wanting a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and with the current setbacks and everything as is, we're only allowed to do a 2-bedroom house. So the health department, the gentleman urged us to see if we could get a variance in the front yard with the conditions to allow them to get their wish of a 3-bedroom home.
The two things that are circled, and the two things that are circled in this map, can you explain what those are?
Yes, sir. That's mine and the septic kind of drawings there, but essentially that's 25 foot around each one of those core drills, which is what you have to have that's unobstructed by home footprint to properly allow for the proper drainage or whatever for the state requirements.
That's for the septic system, correct? 25 feet radius around.
That is correct, yes, sir.
Is that for the drain field or the tank?
That is the
itself?
drain field, yes.
I see, and those letters represent soil type. I'm sorry, I see that now. CR is Corrington
Right.
Townley soil type.
I assume the A and E and D and C and B, those are just the designation of the
The
holes?
quadrants, yes, sir. So everything that's denoted LW in the back there is all unusable soil for the septic. So we're left with those areas kind of in the green boxes there. And again, to maximize the use of a property, we would be asking for the variance of the front yard so that they could get the size of house they want.
The 20, on this map, it looks like 25 feet is the distance from, I'm not sure what it is, from the top of a bank to some other line.
Yes, sir. That'd be the front property pins, yes, sir.
But it should be a 25-foot setback from the right-of-way line, is that not correct?
Yes.
The-
Well, that's, I guess, for them to tell.
This property may not have right-of-way. I would assume it's never been platted, and we'll look it up on KJS and see if it's got a plat. It doesn't, so I want to assume that the deed would reference back a ditch of the roadway or edge of pavement somewhere's in there.
So you don't think Corrigan Road has a defined right-of-way?
If they've never submitted a plat, then they've never dedicated the right-of-way, so it'd be whatever their deed says. We're reading through it right now, sorry.
Yeah, I'd kind of like to know where we think that 25-foot needs to be measured from. Maybe it is the top of the bank, I don't know. I mean, there's a blue line drawn on these maps on the KGIS. They seem to think that there's a right-of-way for Corrigan Road.
So it would be 20 feet from the center line. Mike found it in the zoning ordinance. When there's no dedicated right-of-way, the setback would be 20 feet from the center line of the road, where the right-of-way is, then the setback from that point,
So 20 plus 25, it should be 45
5 feet from the center line of the street.
road.
Yes, that's correct.
And right now, I was kind of going off of like 65 foot from the center line of the road for the current setback.
So 45, you counted on 65 feet, so you picked up an extra 20 feet.
Well, I'm saying when we first went out there and just was kind of doing some looking based off of this septic map here.
I'm sorry, I get confused on all these numbers. So on this map you're showing right now, this house is 65 feet off the center line?
Oh, no.
Okay.
That would be like pulled up where it is on that map. That's an ideal placement. That's what we're asking for essentially. That would be 25 foot from the front corner of the property. Now, is that
So then there'd
where
be-
that's at in relation to
Then
the
we'd
center
say
of the
there's
road?
another, let's say that's a 10-foot lane, that's 35 feet from the center line.
Yeah.
So then take 15.
I was working off of front pins on the property line.
So can, just,
If you've got pins, we would do the property line off the pin, we'd do the setback off the pin. So there is property pins there?
Well, there is not on this particular lot. The next door lot does have a stake and a pin that I was using as an approximation. Just one? One, well, it's got two, but I was using just one of them on the joining sign.
It should be the same then, so we'd go off that pin.
I was using that corner.
That corner pin, yeah, so
Yes, right
that should
there.
be the same, so we'd
That's
go off
correct.
that one. So
That's
yes,
correct.
he's good then.
And again, this is the same, that's a father and like the same family that owns that.
Yeah, so that property corner there should represent what his property corner is.
That's correct.
I agree. So are we talking about 25 feet from that property line back?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay.
That's what I drew this off of, yes.
Sorry, those numbers get all confusing there.
Any questions for the applicant? Ms. Longmire's not here, so anybody else have any questions? No. Well, I got to find my sheets here. Hang on just a minute. You do have some exceptional physical conditions on this property, meaning that being the soil that won't perk. So it is eligible for consideration for a variance. And considering if you don't get the variance, you can't really use the property. To deny the variance would be to deny you reasonable use or beneficial use of your property. For that reason, I'll make a motion to approve this request. Second by Ms. Garrett. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Good to go.
Yes, I am.
Oh, this is my favorite one. 5A. No, wait, he's finished talking to Steve. Go ahead.
5A is a request of Tony West for waiver of front yard setback from 35 feet to 17 feet and to allow swimming pool to be in the front yard. The property is located at 7642 Dupree Lane, CLT map 137, Group IA, parcel 017. Property is zoned PR in the 9th Commission District.
I just want to make one small correction. I think the current proposal is to put it in the backyard, but the offset is a problem for the front yard. Is that correct, Steve?
That's correct. If you notice how she's on a corner lot, but on the corner, the right-of-way for the cul-de-sac comes over and pinches the back of her lot. So that's her problem. If she was on a standard corner lot, I don't think she would need the variance. But being that the right-of-way dips in for the cul-de-sac, she needs one.
Right, but I just wanted to clarify that it is technically in the rear yard, not the side, not the front yard. Even though the front yard setback is what's causing us the issue.
That's correct. It's technically behind the house, but she still has to meet that front yard setback.
Yeah, and we've talked about this one, I don't know, 2 or 3 times already. So please state your name and address for the
Tony
record.
West, 7642 Dupree Road, Knoxville, 37920.
Any other questions, any other comments from codes? None.
We have none.
So tell us what changed from the last time we spoke?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for allowing me to be here again. I appreciate the time. I took your recommendation from the August 28th meeting, and I had a survey done on my property at 7642 Dupree Road. And based on this survey, it appears that the pool will fit in my backyard. I have more property, and thanks to you all for suggesting that, to have the survey, it was well worth it. I have more property than I thought I had back there. What I was suggesting in the August meeting was to put it on the side, but now what I want size-wise will fit in my back. However, in order to fit the length of the pool, I'm asking the setback on Donahue Lane to be 17 instead of 35. And once again, like this gentleman, I'm sorry, I don't know your name. Steve. Mentioned, says it's the front yard of Donahue because I'm in the cul-de-sac, but it's really my backyard. And it's not even good at, I'm only asking 17 feet. I'm not building I don't want anything very large. I'm talking about 26-foot long and only about 9 to 10-foot wide is the size I'm looking at, with very limited landscaping, fence, pavers. That's about it. It's a purpose just for me, for exercise, basically.
I have a question for Miranda.
Yes.
What's the rear yard setback for this property?
For an accessory structure, it's 5 feet.
Okay, does this qualify as an accessory structure? I don't
Yes, it
even know.
does.
Okay, 5 feet, very good. Okay, well, I am glad, personally glad that it worked out that you have the room with the variance. And this is another corner lot issue, which has been the bane of our existence for some time. So unless there's other questions or comments, I will make a motion to accept this, or to approve this variance and wait for a second.
And I'll second that.
Two competing seconds. I'll give it to
Oh, thank
gentleman on my
you.
left. Motion's been made and seconded. Any other further comments or questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? No.
Enjoy your
Motion
pool.
carries.
Thank you
Enjoy the
very
pool.
much. And I am running this plan by the HOA. This was the first step, and I've been in communication with them all along the way, so thank you for your time.
Thank
And
you.
thank you
Thank
for
you.
that suggestion. I really do appreciate it because it was very beneficial through the whole process.
Happy to help.
Thank you.
And a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion. I'll make the motion. Move to
Second?
adjourn.
All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposition? We're adjourned.